In this vid, I'm going to be going over my South Carolina State Championships, where I placed 21st. We had enough players for a top 32, but because of the state rule that caps it off at top 16, unfortunately I was unable to make it for top cut and continue playing. But still, 21st wasn't bad, left with a couple championship points, and overall had a pretty good day. We had so many players show up that we actually had 8 rounds for the day. There was a delay in the tournament because we had so many people set up that they had to send us on an early lunch break in order to get extra tables to fit all the people. And with my boyfriend judging top cut, well, judging for the day and obviously well into top cut, we were actually there until I think we left at 3:30 in the morning and the top 2 were still playing. So it was a pretty long day, but still a really good day, and I had some amazing matches. So first off, I'm going to start with my deck list, and I've done this a little out of order. I did my Maryland State Championship report after my South Carolina State Championship report, which was, of course, after I had edited my deck. So I tried to kind of edit my deck back, and just kind of, I'm pretty sure I had the list correct as far as what changes I had made from South Carolina to Maryland, so I'm pretty sure this is what I ran at South Carolina States. So if you saw my Maryland report, you saw that I ran Zekiels with Smeargle Sky Arrow. The week before in South Carolina, I just ran your standard Zekiels with Thunderous. I changed it for this Smeargle Sky Arrow combo mainly because of the extra, so being able to play the extra supporters, having that little extra speed in your setup, and being able to possibly draw and be able to use supporters late game if needed, like a last minute Juniper to go through the rest of your deck to get what you need. So I think I still prefer my Smeargle version, but this version is also really good too, and my losses really were just to some terrible luck. So let's see. Yeah, like I said, I'll go ahead and start off with the deck list from what I'm pretty sure it was. A single Cleffa, because you never know when you may have a terrible hand and need to shuffle in and get something else. 2 Thunderous. This is my ideal starter to be able to charge, to pull that lightning out of the deck and attach it and be able to turn to Disaster Volt. 2 Mewtwo EX, because with CMT in the format, as well as Mewtwo being run in pretty much every other deck, winning the Mewtwo War is the Mewtwo War is really important, and that can really only be effectively done if you're running 2 Mewtwo. I ran 3 Zekrom as my non-EX attackers. That's pretty obvious why. Zekrom works really well with electric, being able to charge it up and continuously attack, and is still a pretty powerful Pokemon even though it's not an EX. And of course the good side to it is that you don't have to lose 2 prizes when this one gets knocked out. I played 1 Zekrom EX, and I still stand by just the 1 Zekrom rather than going for a heavier Zekrom line, since it is recoverable versus for Super Rods and stuff like that. Strong Volt pretty much knocks out any non-EX Pokemon in the format, most of them at least. It's not going to take out your Donphans because of resistance and the Pokebody, but Strong Volt's still going to take out your Magnezones, opposing Zekroms, and lots of other good stuff. 1 Terrakion for the mirror match. Terrakion's obviously fighting types, so it's going to be able to handle those lightning types pretty well. If you can get the 2 fighting energy on it, that's great to be able to Land Crush. However, Retaliate is going to be doing 90 a turn, which is 180 against lightning Pokemon, which is pretty much takes out anything your opponent's going to throw at you as far as a lightning Pokemon. And I ran a 4-3 electric line. I ran the heavier electric line with the 4 Dynamos just to ensure that I got them on my bench and was able to get the electrics into play. 4 Pokemon Collector, because this is an essential card to have in your starting hand. I did not run Dual Ball in this deck. 3 Pont to shuffle up and draw a new hand. 3 Sage's Training to be able to get some of that energy into the discard pile, but also be able to get through a good amount of your hand to be able to pull into what you need. Just 2 Juniper to be able to discard everything and draw a completely new hand. Great for getting that energy into that lightning energy into the discard pile, as well as just being able to set up a little bit faster. 2 Pokegear in order to get those supporters out a little faster because just I think only what it runs 7, 10, 12 supporters with 4 of them being collectors, which doesn't leave many draw supporters. So the Pokegear really helps get that turn 1 collector as well as help draw and get the extra draw supporters later on in the game. 2 Level Ball to pull out those electric, but of course it's always good if you start off with it or something to get a Dynamo on the bench if you don't have a collector in hand. 3 Catcher to drag up anything on the bench. 2 Switch because electric does have that nasty 2 retreat cost. 1 Super Rod, and that's for getting any Pokemon that you need back in the deck. I also like to use Super Rod to recycle my fighting energy as well. Let's see, 2 Eviolite, just mainly for Zekrom so that I'm not doing as much damage to myself, and I can't easily be one-shot on the return from another Zekrom. 4 Junk Arm, and this is great for getting extra lightning energy into the discard pile, as well for reusing any of your trainers. And then I ran the same energy line as I ran in Maryland. 4 DCE, yeah, the 2 light, 4 DCE, the 2 fighting, and I believe 8 lightning. So, that is the deck list. Now on to my matches. First match of the game, I face a really good Pokedad that is a North Carolina player, and I've played him several times. He was running a Mewtwo, Gardevoir, Liavani deck, and initially when he benched the Ralts and whatever the basic form of Liavani is, I kind of wrote the deck off as, oh, it's going to take way too long to get those stage 2s out, and to really be effective, I'm going to be, I got Zekiels. Zekiels is extremely fast. I'm really going to be able to take the advantage here. He had a Gardevoir and Liavani up by turn 2. And I saw those rare candies going up, the double rare candy into the double stage 2 with the Mewtwo up, powered up the Mewtwo, and he started taking prizes. I captured up, I believe, the Gardevoir at one point to knock it out. Liavani had 130 HP, and I was pretty much set up only to attack with Zekroms at that point with the 120. And this was, because of that amazingly fast setup, that game actually came down to the last prize. Yeah, I don't remember quite exactly how it ended up, but he would have won. I remember he would have won on the next turn, and I think I was able just to target something. And again, having those 2 Mewtwo's in the deck really is imperative when it comes to winning the Mewtwo War. So, loving the Mewtwo. My second game was against a really good friend of mine who was playing an RDL deck with Mew, Mewtwo, and Chandelure. So it sounds a bit weird, but let me kind of explain how it works. Essentially, you get Mew to see off Chandelure, the Fire Chandelure, into the Lost Zone. Then you use Chandelure to spread the damage around. Basically, what you're targeting is any EXs your opponent benches. You put those 3 damage counters on there with Chandelure, and that puts every EX that you're doing that to within a one-shot range of RDL. That means that when you knock out an EX with RDL, combining that double prize from the EX rule with the double prize from the RDL Pokebody, that means knocking out 1 Pokemon, you get to take 3 prizes. So you only have to do that twice, and you've won the game. So he gets I think it was a turn 1 or turn 2 Legend Box, and go figure. You never see Legend Boxes working early in the game. You just never do. It's too early to actually be able to hit what you need. You haven't played enough of your deck. He God starts. He gets that Legend Box out. He hits both halves of the RDL with 2 fire energy on there. I was forced to have a Mewtwo. It wasn't a Mewtwo start, but I think I had like a Dynamo or something start with that, so I was kind of forced to bench the Mewtwo, afraid of the donk. So there was a Mewtwo on the field. He catches up the Mewtwo. Yeah, he pretty much knocks it out with RDL. And I struggled to make a comeback. I think I took a couple of prizes, and it was having that RDL up so fast, there was just nothing I could do. I came close to returning the KO on the RDL with my second Mewtwo. I Junipered my hand, needing only 1 lightning energy to do it. and I whiff on the lightning energy. So it was a combination of some good luck on his side, some bad luck on my side, and my second game of the day and my first loss. So pretty bummed out about that. I go on to my third game, which is Ezekiel mirror match, and basically in the mirror match, I mean, I think it was a straight up mirror match. Like, he ran pretty much the same list, the Thundurus, no Smeargle, Sky Arrow, anything like that. Just straight up, Thundurus, Mewtwo, Zekrom, Eels. So I pretty much just get a faster start and get a nice quick advantage, and I'm able to take the game. I get on to the fourth game, and I'm paired against my good friend Stefan. So pretty bummed out that I had to play against a really good friend. I like playing against my friends, but not in tournament. And Stefan is playing a Ross variant. So Zek Eels runs quite a few trainers. So I really, I need it. Just I can't. I don't do well under a turn 2 Vileplume. I need a couple of turns to really get something set up. So of course, he gets the turn 2 Vileplume up, and I'm just whiffing on supporters. And this was another reason why I opted to swap the Smeargle out for the Thundurus, because had I had a Smeargle in play at any time, I would have been able to portrait his hand and utilize his supporters to get my deck moving. I actually still made the game pretty close. I think I took 4 prizes or so. But because Ross is, Vileplume Reuniclus, and he ran a lot of EXs, I essentially had to one-shot an EX with not much on my field. I also started with a Terrakion in the beginning of the game. So that Terrakion start is what I think killed me. Had I had anything else, I might have been able just to put enough damage onto the field to really force him to start knocking out his own Pokemon. But with that Terrakion start, by the time, it was knocked out, because I couldn't get, it has a 4 energy retreat cost. So I couldn't get that much energy on it fast enough to just get it out of the way. It was pretty much over. So I'm feeling pretty bummed right now, 2-2, thinking there's no way I'm gonna, I even have a chance at top cut with that record. My only chance is to win my next 4 games. So, go on to my 5th game, and it's another Ezekiel mirror match. So, if I remember right, I had several Ezekiel mirror matches, but I think this is the mirror match where the guy made a crucial misplay which lost him the game. Essentially, it was his Mewtwo versus my Mewtwo. He miscalculated the damage. He thought he was doing 200, but because he didn't count it right, he didn't take into consideration that I had Eviolite on, he just didn't count his plus powers and energy right, he was only doing 160, which left me alive by 10 hit points. He announced the attack he pretty much announced the attack. I called him on the mistake. He had the extra energy and a plus power in hand to do the extra damage, but because he had already called the attack, I didn't allow him to take it back, essentially, and let him do the 160, and then I returned, my turn, I just returned the attack for the knockout. There was still a really good chance, though, that I could have returned, if he had taken my Mewtwo, it would have left him with one more prize. And essentially all I had to do to win after that was to, knock out his Mewtwo with one of my own. I was in a pretty good position to do that. There was a Super Rod still in my deck. My deck was pretty low. All I had to do was Super Rod that Mewtwo back in and then use something to get it out. Pretty good chances of doing that, but again, that's just the way the game happens, and unfortunately, he was pretty bummed that we couldn't bring it down to a really close game. He had essentially lose on a misplay. But, that's what happens sometimes when you just don't pay attention. Anyways, we go on to the next game, which is another Zek Eels mirror match. And like my, 3rd game of the day, it just, he just struggled to get set up, and I was able to get a faster setup, really was able, I think, to target some of his Dynamos for the prizes to just prevent him from being able to reutilize that energy again, and was able to take the advantage that way. So, I'm feeling a little bit better now because I'm at least, I think what that makes it 4-2, so 2 more games left. I go on to my next game, and he starts off with a Terrakion, And I'm immediately thinking this is Tetrachion, or a Terrakion Landorus, or a straight fighting deck. Actually, I think he started out with a double Terrakion, which is what made me think that. So I immediately started going for the Mewtwo's. The pretty much Zekiel's, the only thing you could do against a straight fighting deck like that is just go for the Mewtwo's and just utilize them. So I'm doing that, and then he benches a Celebi, and he benches his own Mewtwo. So essentially, it was like a Celebi, Mewtwo, Terrakion. I don't believe there was the Tornadus, so you can't call it a CMT. It was just kind of Celebi, Mewtwo, heavy Terrakion. Again, this was a pretty close game. I don't remember exactly what the prize count was in the very end, but it came nice and close. And I told him afterwards when I saw that Terrakion, I was terrified that it was just going to be Tetrakion or just straight fighting. But yeah, either way, it came down pretty close. Again, Mewtwo War, having that second Mewtwo in the deck really helped me out. And once I realized there were other Pokemon in the deck as well, I was able to, it wasn't just straight fighting. I was able to, safely get my Zekroms on the field and my Eels and be able to use those to knock out some Celebes and things like that. So, feeling pretty good going on to the last game. Whoever wins the last game, will have the 6-2 record and have a really good chance at top cut. There's still so many players around, though, that I believe half of the players will still miss out on top cut. But because the players that I had lost to, one of the players I lost to actually did make top cut, and a lot of the other players I played were really good too, I thought I had a pretty good shot just on my resistance. So, go into the last game, and it was actually the girlfriend of a friend of mine, and I immediately recognized her as the Durant player. So, I'm feeling pretty good. Unless I start like a Terrakion or a Zekrom or something like that, Zekiel's typically has the advantage over Durant just because if I can just get out of Zekrom, I can just keep Bolt Striking over and over again. I think I actually did start out with the Zekrom in this game, and she had the worst start that a Durant deck could start off with, and that is a Cobalion. I think she ran a single Cobalion, and she starts with it. So, she was able still to mill through quite a bit of my deck, but wasn't able to go through nearly as much as if she had had a Durant start. I was able just to focus on, knocking out her Durants. She went for the strategy where she just focused on reviving the Durants rather than, using those chunk arms for crushing hammers and stuff like that to get my energy out of the way or to reutilize catchers. Honestly, I'm still not quite sure what the best strategy is for a Durant player. I see a lot of players do really well when they focus on just keeping 4 Durant in play at all time to be able to devour consistently for 4. And I've also seen a lot of Durant decks do really well when they really focus heavier on the catcher and crushing hammer and lost remover to really slow down their opponents, even if they're only devouring for 2 or 3 a turn, to be able to get those extra devours in before that their opponent can recover. So again, I'm not a Durant player, so I can't tell you what the best strategy is for it. But I've seen it work very well for people both ways. So that was my last game. I was able to win my last game with, I think, still good, 15 cards or so in my deck. So feeling pretty good. And I had a pretty good record, thinking I had a good shot at top cut. They post the standings, and I bubble at 21st, missing top 16 by just a few places. But there were quite a few others in my position, too, at 6-2, that we weren't allowed in any either, just because of, essentially how our opponents did. I found out that, a couple of my opponents didn't did well at the beginning there and just kind of flopped at the end. I think one of them was one of the Pokedads that I played that had a pretty good list. He actually dropped after his kid was done, so that hurts your resistance and just things like that. So at that point, it kind of just comes down to, hoping that your opponents do well. And unfortunately, that's sad. I wish it was, they could figure out a different way to go about that rather than it just happens to be who you played. So, that's pretty much it. That's my tournament report for South Carolina State Championships. I did manage to go to 3 state championships this season. This is the first time I really traveled for any of them, so it was definitely a different experience, and one I might try again. regionals are coming up in a few weeks. So in a few weeks, I'll have a regionals report for you, hopefully. You know, the only time I really don't do tournament reports is if I just completely flop. But I figure 1 top cut and 2 just short of top cut. However, if we had had a top cut that matched the attendance that we had, that would have been top cut, I think that's still worthy of a tournament report. So, hope you guys enjoyed everything, and hope some of you, I know have already asked me for my deck list, so hope the deck list help you out. If nothing else, Zekiel's is going to be around for a while, so even if you're not playing it, it's still a deck to be aware of and be prepared against for upcoming regionals. So, thanks again for watching.